Sit down. Yeah, don't eat it. Right. Yeah, roll over there. Yeah.
So you tell me. No. Try a comment.
Here. Here. Please stand for time of prayer. Geneva 26, 2025.
Council, this evening there are 6 applications before you. All of them are returning, even with the exception of the Asbury Park Food Truck and Music Festival, which will be held on October 25th and 26th. Any questions?
So I just want to let you know that the Chamber of Commerce Restaurant Tour takes place on Sunday, April 27th, 2024. And if anybody's interested in tickets, the website is Asbury.Chamber. 27 restaurants throughout the city.
On Saturday, the 26th, the city is sponsoring a event. They're going to be a number of vendors. It's called Raid and Soul in Asbury Park. There'll be restaurants, stores, and entrance fee is $0. So everybody can come out from 12 to 4 p.m. And then also we are continuing to have dumpsters out on the street for free for residents. Or declutter, there's an opportunity. And the next time we'll have the out on Saturday, May 3rd, and it'll be located next to the library. And it'll be there for 3 hours, 10 a.m. in the morning until 4 p.m. sadly, Asbury Park experienced a shooting, and I think the entire council is are involved too. With that.
Thank you. Very much. We're on to action, the acting city. Thank you, action city. Now we go to the presentation by Foster, the Asbury Park LLC, for the development of law 2703, 123, 701, 705, Second Avenue. First, we're going to have a quick overview of the dimensions of the district.
Okay, Good evening, folks. My name's Beth McManus. I'm the planning and redevelopment consultant for the city of Asbury Park. I'm just going to give a quick introduction and then allow the developer to go through the redevelopment proposal that's being presented this evening. So tonight's presentation is about the Holy Spirit property, the Holy Spirit Church site. This is the church located at 701 to 705 Second Avenue. It's at the corner of Second and Bond. For those of you that have been following the process, we've had a few different presentations over the last perhaps 18 months or so. Tonight's presentation is the developer's review of their current proposal, which has been amended from earlier in the year, or excuse me, late last year, to respond to some of the community concerns. But at its core, it remains an adaptive reuse of the church and construction of a multifamily residential building on the remaining land. And so with that, and I'm going to hand things over to the developer and have him provide all the details and go through the presentation.
Thanks.
So,
Get that check, come to stand up.
You can whatever you're most comfortable with.
Wherever you're coming.
Okay.
To move that mic down to your mouth.
So my name is Jim Sayed. This is I'm the senior developers for the Holy Spirit Church. This presentation is for the adaptive reuse of the former Holy Spirit Church. You can see the innovative live, work, and play. The last time we were here to present this project, we received 2 yeses and 3 no votes. Since then, I've had the opportunity to speak to one of the council members, and together I feel like we've come up with a revised plan that will address some of the council members. Okay? And the first thing we did was we increased the parking supply. So, and just to get the nitty-gritty of it, it's 1 parking space for every market rate unit, 2 parking for every 1 2-bedroom market rate unit, and 2 spaces for every 3-bedroom unit, regardless whether it's market rate or anything. The way we were able to get to the increased parking supply was, you actually, when you go to the parking, and there's an additional 3 ADA parking spaces that So we took the lobby And the retail space and amenity space from the front of the building, we removed that from the building. The lobby is now situated on the side of the residential building. It's now sandwiched between the church building and the residential building, and it kind of joins the two buildings together. So they're now actually connected. The lobby is adjoining within the church to get into the residential building. So there's actually two entrances for the lobby, one from the church and one from the exterior, which I thought was pretty cool. The gym was now located to the lower level of the church, and the retail space is just gone. We figured we have enough retail space in the gym. The front facade of the building will still remain glass, so if you notice, there's like a little box in the front. And we'll just display artwork there, and the reason behind that is we still want to display we still didn't want it to be residential from ground floor all the way up to the top. We wanted it to have some sort of retail look on the bottom, and then residential up top. So it'll just be glass with artwork displayed behind it to give the appearance of a storefront and stuff. We also took the density down from 90 units to 80 units. They didn't want to do that, but that was the only way that we were able to get to one parking space per unit and two parking spaces for every unit. The next thing we did is we decreased the parking demand. We go to the lower level. And the way we reduced the parking demand was now the office space on the lower level of the building is now restricted to only the tenants of the building. Not just the residential tenants, but obviously the church tenants as well. So the way we look at it is it's kind of like co-working open office space that both residents of the residential building and the church building can use. If a photographer is upstairs and needs additional studio space, or if there's an artist downstairs that needs additional studio space or additional space to kind of put together their artwork, they'll be able to rent out one of the office spaces. But the office space cannot be rented by anybody who's coming in and using the office space. It's got to be tenant of the building. Anybody else out of development wouldn't be able to rent it there. So that kind of reduces the parking demand for the office space. Those are really the main things. Those are really the main things. So basically, we decrease the parking demand, we increase the parking in a few different ways. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'll struggle. I know you went from 90 to 80, you went from 74 to 83 parking spots.
Yep.
And you say, and if you did the simple math, you're right, it's more than one per unit. But when you dedicate 2 to 16,
Three bedrooms.
3 bedrooms, that's 32, leaving 51 for leaving 51 spaces for more than the rest of the units.
Yeah.
So there's not, there's, my math's right. 13 units, either being 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, are going to have no parking spots.
No, so the 1 bedroom gets 1 units, the 3 bedrooms gets 16 parking, but 16 parking staff. So it's 2 parking for that 3 bedrooms.
Okay, so then it's the right number 99, not 83. I got, yeah,
Like there's 90, that will be 99, right?
up,
Right. Right.
the reports say 83.
Yeah, it's 83 parking. Well, keep in mind, these are only the market. So right now we have 64 market rate units. Right? So, I don't know what the architecture is.
That's right, I mean, 64 in the back. Right, the 64 parking for market units. And 16, come up to 80 parking will be the stack from 3 bedrooms.
So it's 60, so you have 64 market rate units, and in total, Single spots, you have 60, 51, so you have 67, 3. So you, 67, 3. So you have 70 parking spaces and 64 market rate units, 83 total spots, but the 3 bedrooms get 2 parking spots by the way. So on ground level parking space, it's actually only 1 parking space, but every bedroom is one.
So now we have 21 bedrooms, 20 dash 1 bedroom units, 44 2 bedroom units, and 16 3. So the 16 get 32 spaces, that's 30.
Not necessarily, not 16, because there's income restricted. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I think I'm back. 3 bedroom income restricted still gets you, so Mark, you're, sorry.
That's that. So that's 32. It's 32 from 83 is 51. So you got 21 bedrooms and 44 2 bedrooms. So that's 64 units and 51 parking spots.
Now you have 67 parking spots, you have 51 single spots, 16 stackers, which comes up to 32 parking spots. So the total that you have is 67 parking spots plus 388 parking spots.
Let's start again. Okay. How many total parking spots in the parking garage, including the stack?
83.
Okay. But we got 83.
Mhm.
We take away 32.
Take away 60.
We take away 32. 2 for the 16 3 bedroom. Okay, right so far. 83 minus 32 is 51. But you have 64 units to use 51 parking spots.
Yeah, because your 64 units are included in your 3 bedroom, you take away 3 bedrooms.
No, you got 21, 20, but 1 bedroom unit and 44. You decrease the number of 1 unit, that increase the number of 2, which happens. But there's 21 unit bedrooms and 44 2 units.
I think the easiest way to look at
That's
this,
64, that's 64 units.
I
Like 51 parking spots.
think the easiest way to look at this, so it's just total 67 parking spaces. That's 67 parking spaces on the ground level. You have 83 parking spaces total with the.
8, okay. Start again. Correct.
Okay.
The building now has, it went from 74, which I appreciate, to 83 parking spots. So now we have 83 parking spots. We have 16 3-unit, 3-bedroom units. And they're getting 2 each, that's 32. So 83 minus 32 is 51. But as far as apartments, 1 bedroom, you have 20, and 2 bedrooms, you have 44, so that's 64 units with 51 parking spots.
Yeah, but
You gotta take away
they don't get parking.
the parking, right? So it's only for market. One space.
And how many unrestricted are there?
20%.
How many units?
16. 16.
16. 16.
So sit-
Fine. That wasn't, if that was in there, I probably would be asking this question. I understand.
Does it not say for income restricted units only? Does our presentation not say for market units only? Parking?
Did it?
It should.
It did not. So, the 13 units that won't get parking,
60, yeah, right, 13.
13 units that won't get parking, for the affordable.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Except the 3 bedrooms. 3 bedrooms still get 2 spaces.
Correct, okay. Thank you. Got it.
If you put 1 minus 16, they parking.
I mean, I found it, the easiest way I found to look at it is the total number of 67 spaces. We have 64 units. So, if it's a 3 bedroom, it still has 1 ground level space, except it utilizes the lift to be able to get 2 spaces. So the easiest way to look at it is one space per unit. There's 64 units, we have 67 parking spaces. The reason that there's 3 over the 64 is because there's 3 ADA spaces that we didn't allocate to units. Some development. Sorry.
No problem. On the first floor of the church.
Yeah.
You have a stage that even in some of your pictures, you have a band like stage.
Yep.
Will you make the commitment to, ticketed concerts? This, because you could have a concert there by the church is so big, we might fit 500 people.
Yeah, we don't have that many
So we
cities.
get some type of commitment that will be no ticketed event.
I don't know if I can make that. So I don't know exactly what tent we're gonna have there, that's gonna take over the cafe space and stage, and I really don't wanna limit the tents. I don't think it's gonna be easy for us to find any correct tenants for this building, I don't want to limit, they can't do this or.
Okay, here's a question again. Come down a lot, density, increased parking. I still don't think it's about parking, but that's the only reason I'm asking. So,
I will tell you that we will have valet for us.
oh, good. Yeah, or they.
We are
Okay, so you have to make that happen. Other people said the same thing.
No, you can, with managed parking, you can fit over 120 spaces on it. With managed parking. They can be stacked behind the church building, in front of the church building, and they can also be stacked in the parking deck. Again, it has to be managed. There has to be a valet for the to take the parking deck.
Okay. Budget. Not to be decided to financial.
So,
The piece of paper I got from you guys through that and everything said the financial statement saying, which I find, you leaving 10 units, I don't see how we get the same type of money.
finance doesn't stay the same, it goes down by 35. So,
I'm sorry, but we got said it stays the same. I believe that it stays rent free.
I see that, please, we fill that up. After all, there's another paper I have over here. That should.
Right, that's what we got. Say $330,000 a year. It just can't see if you leave it 10 units.
This is the paper that's supposed to be over all.
Okay, so let's go right.
295.
Come on.
Well,
And that's again,
Yeah.
say, like, we did it, because I know you had regional, you finance, make sure this is
it
viable.
wasn't really that hard of a calculation to do. The city collects 10% of the annual gross revenue. The annual gross revenue for every single unit is approximately $35,514 a year. They're like $3,000, $3,500 a month. So that $35,000 a year, it's just that times 10 times 10%. So that's $35,000. So $35,000 minus 333 is, I don't know, 295 or whatever. I mean, is that exact? No, I didn't have the time to.
That's something,
But
that's
that's
something we worked out down the road, but when you do the pro forma, so our professionals, everything. And I just had a question, I would say 330. Okay, so that's.
Our income goes down.
I'm gonna just, again, and Beth, maybe you could correct anything that I say that is wrong. That this vote, if there is a vote tonight, would be to move this to the planning board to declare this as an area that needs redevelopment of some sort. This wouldn't be a vote tonight on the pilot or even the project itself, although it is certainly a blessing and a sign to you all that certainly 3 people are supportive in theory of this project. But the only thing we are voting on tonight is to send this to the planning.
That's correct. There's a resolution later in your agenda. It's 2025-29, and it would do just that. It would authorize the planning board to study whether the site qualifies as an area of development. It's not a guarantee, but it's a symbolic vote for the council. If I support or if I
And so if this came back to us with a pilot that we thought was not appropriate, there would be an opportunity to vote no.
Yes, there are opportunities to vote no or yes at the designation of the redevelopment area, which ultimately is decided by the council on the redevelopment plan itself and on the final.
Other questions?
I have a question. In regards to the affordable units, is it going to be low, very low, moderate, or is what?
Good question. So we gave two options to the council. We, guys, I don't think we made a decision on it, but if you got questions that come up, I brought it. Okay. So scenario one is 6 affordable units, 1 very low 1-bedroom, 1 low income 2-bedroom, 1 low income 3-bedroom, 2 moderate income 2-bedroom units, 1 moderate income 3-bedroom units, and 12 workforce income units. Scenario 2 is 1 moderate income 1-bedroom, 6 moderate income 2-bedrooms, 2 moderate income 3-bedroom, and 9 middle income units, workforce units essentially. Workforce housing.
So can you just explain what a workforce unit is?
Sure, it's, what I would say is part of, income restricted housing as opposed to affordable housing. Affordable housing here in New Jersey is defined as 80% or less than median income. Workforce housing, or referred to as middle income housing in the city and in some of the ordinances and policy documents, is for income restrictions between the 80%, the top of affordable housing, and up to 120% of median income.
Can you just, would it be fair to say that income restricted would likely be people like teachers, firemen, police officers? Not people necessarily on disability.
Yes, I think that's accurate.
And it's restricted for how many years?
30 years.
40 years.
40.
I thought it went with the same thing as the tax bill.
It,
The pilot.
affordable housing rules have recently been changed, requiring new rental units to be 40 years rather than 30 years. So as projects come forward in the future, this would qualify as one of those because we don't have a redevelopment plan in place.
Something to do with it.
Workforce units are.
Workforce housing units do not qualify for affordable housing credit against the city's affordable housing obligation, but they do provide a different, they do provide an important and different level of affordability for folks that might otherwise not be able to afford to live in the city or in that project.
Other questions?
No, I don't think you.
Back in, you know the questions, but we're going to go to the public. I'm sure there'll probably be questions, so if you guys want to stay there, whatever we want to do.
Okay, I'll call the presentation. I will
Move to open.
all in favor. Public participation portion, you have to open, and you have to move to public, who wishes to speak, please use the microphone, state your name, address for the record. There will be a 3-minute time limit to each speaker.
And just so everybody knows, this is not just about this project, it's about anything and everything in the city, so if you have anything you want to speak about, that's the time to do it, it's not just this redevelopment project.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathy McQueen, and I live at 4 Wesley Court here in town. I've lived here for the past 18 years with my husband Doug, and we moved here because of the walkability, vibrancy, and diversity of town. Culturally, nowhere beats here, and it offers so much more than any other town on the shore. For over a decade, I was a parishioner and regular attendee of Holy Spirit Church. We would walk or ride our bikes over for mass and enjoy the company of our neighbors of all backgrounds, young, old, Latino, Asian, etc., all in the confines of that beautiful historic structure. If you haven't been inside, it is truly magnificent. It's important to note that we did not drive and we did not take up any parking spaces when we attended Mass. Our church congregation is now dispersed amongst other parishes, but there's two possibilities for what comes in its place. One offers the variety and diversity that appealed to us in the first place while we moved here, and it preserves a historic structure while contributing to the economic vibrancy of the community. It also provides much needed affordable housing and community space. As an example, in addition to what Amy had mentioned about teachers, et cetera, when we increase restaurants and other small businesses in town, where do we expect people to live? They shouldn't have to live outside of Asbury Park if they're working here. The other possibility is the 6 McMansions, forgive me, which may sit empty half of the year. That possibility offers the monolithic sameness of any wealthy suburb, which is what we try to avoid when we moved here. I urge the council to move forward with the plan that will preserve Holy Spirit building and provide much needed housing in a vibrant, walkable neighborhood. Please prevent the loss of another unique and beautiful historic structure in Asbury Park.
Thank you. When you pick up the puppy,
A question. Oh, hi, sorry.
Doug told me about your new puppy, and he said, my wife works there, so she showed me a picture of his brother. So when do you pick up your new puppy?
Oh my gosh. Later in May. Yes, I think May decide, yes. May decide is amazing. Yes, and then her brother lives in town as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
No, I'm sorry to cry. The field is so beautiful.
Thanks, Kathy. That was pretty much covered all of it. I was not a commissioner at the church. I'm Polly Shilga, the family. And yes, Asbury Park is a real dog-friendly town, very walkable, dog-friendly town. Everybody sees that dog except us, but that's on the list coming up soon. Yeah, Asbury Park really is a walkable city. All of it is and should be as safe as possible. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and Asbury Park Streets Coalition. Many of you may not know, or maybe you do know about the designation of a transit village. Asbury Park's transit center and the surrounding area was designated by MJDOT as a transit village, meaning that residences and retail spaces and other things are built and created around the transit center, and then enabling people to get on the train and go to work or live in affordable housing and reasonable rate housing and walk across better light. This is NJDOT and NJ Transit, walk across the train tracks, walk across the portal, back and forth, better lighting, better crossing, and then bridging two sides of the city, bringing the cities together in a healthy way. And then by the same token, the development of this property, preserving the church building itself, which I hate that. I think many of us would hate to see any more historic structures destroyed in the city, repurposing it, whether ticketed events, whether not with co-working space, with a theater, with a cafe, making it be a vibrant part of the city, inviting people from both sides of the city to participate, to enjoy functions or to utilize the space for artists. And then the residential building with whatever number of buildings are in this and how many parking spaces are in this building, it will provide an incredible economic benefit to businesses on Main Street, bringing people probably walking up and down Main Street, walking and rolling, and using and partaking in the restaurants and purchasing things in these businesses. So there doesn't seem to be much of a downside except for potentially lack of parking, which seems to be a real shame since most of the houses on that street, please don't crucify me if I'm wrong, have driveways. And so if we have an influx of people utilizing that space, as I think there were 6 masses in that church, is that right, Kathy, on Sundays, every weekend, it's 6 on Sundays, 6 masses, bringing dozens and dozens of cars every single weekend. It's hard to comprehend why there would ever even be a question that this church would be demolished and more residences. We desperately need more housing in the city. And yeah, but we need more places to live. So.
Thank you. Okay, good evening.
Colin Chapman, 1408 Park Avenue. I'm not here to, degrade some of the, the history of the church or any of that. But I do share the concerns of the mayor with the parking. I think we're downplaying the impact. I live in a house that does not have a driveway, and it's a nightmare, even with the parking permit. It's a nightmare to find a parking spot during peak months. Have to park several blocks away from the house, have groceries, I'm a resident of the town, so I don't see how these numbers add up. I mean, one bedroom unit, one car, and then I think most people, maybe you're going to have two people living. I just don't see how the math adds up. I think it's going to be a problem with the parking. The town is growing. The parking is finite. We're going to see issues unless something is further addressed. Although I do appreciate the changes, I think we need to go a lot farther to support the parking. My second point has to do with Pilot in general. I own a 125-year-old house in town, and I am just flabbergasted. I have some statistics that I pulled off nj.gov. The value of, and this is average residential sales price, Asbury Park 2015, $275,000. The average house in New Jersey during that same time, and again, you can go to nj.gov and look at these statistics yourself if you don't want to take my word for it, $397,279. So Asbury Park, the average residential sale price in 2015 was 45% lower than the average in New Jersey. Fast forwarding to 2024, the average residential sales price of a house in Asbury Park is $700,700. The average price in New Jersey, more broadly speaking, was $573,997. And now the average price in Asbury has flipped from 45% lower in 2015 than the average New Jersey house to 22% higher in 2024. The way, again, I'm not an expert at the pilot program, but the way I understand the pilot program is that it offers tax relief to developers to come in and build buildings. And these people that will be living in these units will not have to pay the school tax that I have to absorb as a burden for myself. My taxes, I'm just going to throw out some numbers on my taxes. I moved here in 2021. My taxes went up $4,423 or 37% in 4 years. I would love to know what the tax increase for these units that are supported by the pilot program, how much they went. That's an average of over 9% per year. In 10 years, my taxes will double if we keep it the certain.
You finished your sentence.
Okay. My point, I think I've made my point. Thank you.
The numbers you're asking for, I can't give you to them right now.
I understand.
You can call the tax assessor tomorrow, hopefully that'll be helpful. Michael,
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Hi, Michael Cushman, 1100 Fifth Avenue. First, I want to say I understand that parking is definitely an emotional topic. I don't live on Second Avenue. I think if this church goes down and we build those 6 large units, we're still going to have a parking issue. We're always going to have a parking issue. The town is a mile and a quarter square. Density is always going to be an issue. I live over on Fifth Avenue on the west side of the Poly, and we're dealing with the same thing at 1201 Memorial, where there's going to be new big units coming up and so forth. The irony is that the fact that we're only, and it's a nippy thing, not in my backyard. I don't live on Second Avenue, I understand. But we have a really small backyard. That's this city. Wherever we build, this is going to be an issue. So I think that we need to really kind of have some vision here and think 10, 15, 20 years from now, when we're looking at Asbury Park and we see what is built, are these decisions of what the city looks like going to be based on parking? The irony is because it's a mile and a quarter square, to relate to the woman who just spoke about when she went to that church, is that it is a walkable and a mobile city. And there are all alternatives. And even people coming from out of town have figured that out. So I think we really need to look at this with some vision. We also have a real housing issue. in this city. We need housing. The other thing with the pilot program, and I'm not a fan of pilot programs, I'm not a developer, but I understand they are a reality of the way business is done. And there's a lot of information going out, misinformation, I think, different numbers. But we did some research, and I will tell you this, there's 3 scenarios here. That the church goes down and you build these 6 McMansions people are referring them to. The other is that we go with the developer's plan. And I think there's a pilot program where a large amount of money goes to the city, nothing goes, some to the county, nothing to schools. There's another scenario where the pilot program is about $330,000 a year. A percentage goes to the city and a percentage does go to the schools, less to the county. In either scenario of the preservation, it far exceeds the revenue to the city for building 6 large homes. Not even close. And especially when you add into Polly's point, the economic impact of having this population there, now going to restaurants, businesses, and so forth, it doesn't even come close. So from a revenue standpoint, preserving this property and building these units is a boom for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a total left turn on this. I like the plan, by the way. Thank you. Changes to it.
Name and address, please.
Sure. John Milton, 1017 Third Avenue. So I want to talk about deployment of the fire department to 1000 Third Avenue, to the unit pads. Deputy Mayor probably has witnessed it on numerous occasions. So I did a few calculations, and I might add, I do have experience with this. I've been commissioner of the fire department and police department, and I have these numbers are from FEMA. So at 1000 Third Avenue, there's, we'd say on average, and I have a neighbor here to witness, probably 2 deployments a day to that facility. There has never been a fire in 5 years since I've been in that deployment. So running some numbers. So there's typically an engine truck, a ladder truck, a command truck, and an ambulance that's deployed. In total, and I have a breakdown and I'll hand it to you all after this. So each deployment is $1,385 approximately. Now, if we add staffing into that, 3 firefighters per vehicle, the officer that the chief maybe that comes out, and 2 EMTs that come in. For the 3 firefighters per vehicle, that's $534 per vehicle. For the officer to be deployed, it's 103. For the 2 EMTs, it's 155. So the total per deployment is $2,177. So the average daily deployment for two deployments is $4,354. If you total that per year, that's $1.6 million of deployment. This has been going on for 5 years. So even if we cut that in half, that comes out to $800,000 a year. And I know I've spoken to a couple of the council members on it. What are we doing? It's not just the housing authority. I know the housing authority will say it's because somebody's smoking in you. But from a safety issue, from a tax issue, because we all pay the taxes for that deployment. Additionally, what numbers I haven't put in here, because I have negotiated with fire unions, is they will negotiate based on the amount of deployments. So that's 600 deployments that will be put in the books as part of their negotiation, not only for salary, but that's also for benefits. So again, I've only been here for 5 years. I have experience with it, and nothing's been done. So I would hope that this gets a little bit more attention, that not only as an annoyance to the neighbors, but also a safety issue, not only for the firefighters, but those that live in the building. We may at some point want to ask the housing authority is if you want to perhaps stop the behavior, have them evacuate the building for every alarm, because they're not. Everybody just sits around. Fire department comes out, checks it. At the very least, what we may want to consider, it would be cheaper to deploy a full-time firefighter in that building at $95,000 a year and say, nope, everything's okay, you don't have to come out. I'll do it. I live across the street. I'll take this out report.
I appreciate it. You're correct, and we have to look at it. And if you want to do this to number 5, I'm sure we, yeah.
Yeah, their FEMA numbers, I'm sure you have, so.
Okay, thank you. And something has to be done, and I guess that's years. Because we have, or if I have an alarm system, because I have so many false alarms, I get charged.
Right.
I guess the schools get charged and the housing authorities get charged. And the answer's been no. But maybe that's something. But I mean, a representative of the housing authority just election, maybe she can take this back to the administration also. That this is a problem.
I'm happy to take that.
And you're right, it'd be a lot cheaper just to one full-time fireman and just throw in a 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense. But thank you for bringing this story back.
Hi, Robert Kahn, 600 Third Avenue. I just want to go back to the Holy Spirit redevelopment. I'm a proponent of saving the church. Proponent of, the developer has brought up some, we've got a good plan, but there is a concern with parking. Number one, I don't know what the right number is, but one parking space per unit is substantially under what will be required by the tenants. Second thing I want to talk about is the taxes and the revenues. I've heard a few people mention there's going to be a lot more revenues under this proposal. There's also going to be a lot more expenses under this proposal. There's a reason why we collect tax revenues, and it's because of expenses. And there's going to be more kids in schools. There's going to be more services that are going to be required to have 80 units versus 6 McMansions. I'm not a proponent of the McMansions, but let's equal things out. It's not all free money because there are services and there are expenses that are going to be associated with that. We just need to be honest about that. You can't just say it's all about the revenues. So that's all I want to say.
Bob Stevens, 704 Second Avenue. I'm one of the stepchildren directly across from this proposed development. I mean, it's a great idea, especially those that do not live in that area. You can take advantage of many of the amenities, including reconverting the church into business, entertainment, whatever your plans are. That directly affects especially those that are on the opposite side of the street. Approximately 30 people live in the same area where you're planning to build. And already there are many people that don't have driveways. They're using the streets. Already the streets are difficult to park on. It's not something new and it will not change. If you've got 150 units, I'm not saying that's the number, but I'm just saying, if you've got 150 units, everybody has a spot, minimally. People have 2, 3, 4 cars. It varies. Where are all their guests going to park? There's nothing available for that. So here you are on the street. If you've got the church converted into retail or entertainment, or we already experience a nightclub on the corner at all hours of the night with their bass bashing through the walls. We're the stepchildren. We're right on the front line. No, I don't know however many else individuals here today have to experience that. They can come visit, take advantage of the wonderful creation, and then go home. We're there. We experience this on a daily and weekly basis. I'm just telling you the experience of those that live on the opposite side of the street
currently and what we experience and we will experience. Once it's built, it's built. That's it. You're gonna have traffic issues. Yes, we've all discussed that. Are people not gonna have visitors? Whatever the number is, that's their option. They can have as many visitors as they wish to. Now you have a church building, as I have stated, it's not a church. It's nice to see the structure. It's an older structure. It's converted into modern business, modern entertainment, modern retail, whatever the plan is. You're still gonna have a parking issue. And it's gonna happen. Aside from the fact that we're now gonna be facing a 6-story building. Does anyone else have to experience that? You have to consider that. We're the stepchildren, we got to speak because it's already a difficult situation. I would just as soon have the homes built across the street, at least each would have their own driveway. It'll be minimal. We're gonna experience it once it's built, that's it. Now, where do we go? More, 6 more houses, the next block over are sold, another development, and we're right on the border of business and R1.
Robert, you're gonna have to.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Robert, I know you showed up to a few meetings and concerned about,
You really want to do this, I don't want to do this. It's gonna be difficult.
Hi, I'm Irene Burney, 615 Sunset Avenue. I met my husband down here and we bought our house in 1993. And just like the gentleman said, in 1993, my taxes were higher than my mortgage. And going forward now, of course, I paid off my mortgage, I'm widowed, but now the taxes have gone up so high. I probably have to take out an equity loan to keep it up, but that's, I just don't understand how taking down the gorgeous church that we got married in, et cetera, is gonna help anymore in the city. With the taxes also, at least, why don't we get a sticker for anybody who still lives here so that they can park free? Why do we have to pay to park at the beach? And things like that. It's just little things to make it up for the residents that stood here. When nobody wanted Asbury Park, we've been paying and paying and paying. And now it's doing beautifully, but what about the people who are here? You want them to stay, don't you? And it's starting to look like Manhattan, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm a New Yorker that never left, but it's starting to look like Manhattan with all this, I don't know. But please save the church as best as you can.
Good evening, Thomas DeSalvo, 3600 Route 66. And we were here 4 weeks ago and this failed by a 3-2 vote. The only reason why a developer would want to come back so fast is he certainly got an assurance from one of those no votes that they're going to vote yes tonight. And what everybody in this room has the right to know was what was said to that councilperson who's going to flip their vote that made them flip their vote. What did the developer say to them? What did anybody else say to them? What did the publisher of a local paper who claims all the time that he's intervened and is running this show, kind of, so to speak. It's called the Madison Marquette Gazette. He calls it Tri-City News, but trust me on that. What did everybody say to the council that makes this person flip their vote? Let's look at what you're flipping your vote from and to, and let's use the old-fashioned scales. On the one side of the scale, you've got, first of all, the pilot, which takes money from the schools and gives it to the developer. That's an acute problem right now because Asbury Park is facing a $13 million budget deficit in schools next year. You are looking at possibly losing some of your teachers, a lot of your teachers. You're going to lose sports. You're probably going to lose your football team. You may even lose one of your buildings. This is an acute problem. Why you would do a pilot that takes money from the schools with that extant problem is beyond me. Also on that side of the scale, the rest of the taxpayers. When you tell a developer you don't have to pay this much for the schools, you transfer that obligation to the rest of the taxpayers if they want to save those schools. So it hurts everybody. Then you've got a big one, the quality of life of the neighborhood, like Mr. Stevens was talking about. You're like 70 parking spaces short, no matter how you cut this. That's gonna be 70 cars looking to park on Second and Main. That's not counting Amazon, DoorDash, pizza deliveries. The quality of life there is going to sink. What's on the other side of the scale that's outweighing that? Don't tell me historic preservation, that ship sailed. The beauty of this church was the inside. They already ripped out the Italian marble altar. It's gone. They're gonna rip up more of it, okay? Don't tell me the outside is worth preserving. Preservationists are laughing in or through the teeth at you. Because that limestone isn't what was beautiful. It was beautiful stone. That ship is sailed. So you have to look at the scale and say to yourself, with all that on one side and just the developer's limestone on the other side, does it really outweigh it? Are you really going to give your imprimatur of approval to the planning board and say, we're okay with this? You shouldn't do that. You should not send it to them, even though the guys are going to do a pilot, because that's horrible for this town. I wish you would have saved the church. I wish you had a preservation ordinance before this, but that ship sailed. So consider that side of the scale, all the harm you're gonna do to the city, and think of those kids that you're gonna be screwing over tonight when you flip that vote from a no to a yes.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to be heard about anything? Motion to close.
Thank you for all that disinformation, Simon. Appreciate that.
All in favor? All sorry, this meeting is now closed.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you. Before I go back to there's no more questions. Thank you.
We don't get a chance to.
This isn't just you.
Moving on to the minutes, the executive meeting, regular minutes for the April 9th, 2025 meeting, do I have a motion? Councilor Hernandez, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clinton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. Mayor.
Yes.
Moving on to the consent agenda resolutions, all matters listed on the consent agenda are presented by the city council and will be considered for approval with one vote. These matters are considered to be routine in nature, and there will be no individual discussion of these items. If discussion is desired by one of the council members, as to any particular items, the subject shall be removed from the consent agenda and considered subject. The consent agenda tonight, we have resolutions 2025-196, 2025-190. Motion. Councilor Hernandez, Councilor Chapman.
Yes.
Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. Mayor.
Yes.
Now we go to individual resolutions, resolution 2025-194, resolution approving payment of bills.
Second.
Councilor Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilor Chapman.
Yes.
Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-195, resolution approving person-to-person liquor license transfer of preliminary retail license number 1303-33-042-006 from Asbury Food Inc. AB and AB Holdings LLC. That's second.
Second.
Councilor Hernandez. Councilor Chapman.
Yes.
Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-196, resolution authorizing RP-28 for a home application from the New Jersey Environmental Construction Financing Program, the city of Asbury Park wastewater treatment plant improvements, also needs to be Asbury Park, phone number S340813.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-197, resolution authorizing payment for various uses for repairs.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-198, resolution authorizing purchase of first aid.
Second.
Yes. Councilor Bennett. Councilor Clayton. Resolution 2025-199, resolution authorizing the purchase of transmission for the police department.
Second.
Councilor Bennett. Councilor Chapman.
Yes.
Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. 2025-200, resolution authorizing the purchase of 3 mini beach dumpsters to support the Department of Public Works.
Move it.
Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution 2025-201, resolution authorizing parks and repairs to the beach backhoe loaders. Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution 2025-202, resolution authorizing a fertilizer and weed control program in various locations city line control growth for 2020.
Second.
Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. Yes. Resolution 2025-203, resolution authorizing a agreement with 2025 fire department grants equipment test.
Okay.
Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn. Yes. Resolution 2025-204, resolution authorizing the annual HVAC preventative maintenance for repair system. Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution 2025-205, resolution authorizing annual renewal of developer software for city support security systems. Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution 2025-206, resolution authorizing the annual renewal of SDL software. Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Yes. Resolution 2025-207, resolution authorizing the release of performance software 614 Cookman Avenue, block 204, block 6. Posting. Move it. Councilor Van Ness, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Clayton. Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution 2025-208, resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Asbury Park to enter into a third amendment subsequent developer agreement of Asbury Park of the city developer, Somerset Asbury Park, renewal LLC, developer connection with development of Asbury real property will be at block 4105, block 1.01, 12 Avenue, 5th Avenue, and 115 4th Avenue, city of Asbury Park. 411, 415, 412. Councilor Van Ness.
Yes.
Councilor Chapman. Councilor Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
No.
Yes. Resolution 2025-209, resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Asbury Park, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, authorizing the planning board of the city of Asbury Park to investigate whether an area the city should be designated as an area in the development. Block 2703, block 3, 701, 705, 7.
So I want to say this first before first of all, to thank you for making the changes. There is some improvement. And I feel as though I'm doing a lot of hard. I have to be concerned about the quality of life of those who live in that. I am also concerned about those who love the church. Holy Spirit was moved by the woman, she's not here, but she was moved to tears because of the memories she had and experienced there. You have your votes. I still have issues regarding parking. And I do appreciate the effort that you have made. And I also have to say that I appreciate calls that I received from many of you reading this. But I'm going to stick with what I believe is in the best interest of those who live in that area, the quality of life. The parking is still an issue for me. And I have to say, thank you.
Yes, I agree to move to the plan.
Councilor Clayton.
I'm also changing my vote from my previous vote because I had an opportunity to sit down with the developer, express my concerns, and they were kind enough to listen to me and make changes. And the changes I think make it a better development. Is it perfect? No. Still, that's still going to create some parking problems. But we say for sure. We make it better than it was, and for those reasons, and not because anything was offered to me or given to me, but because my conscience says that I can do it. So I'm voting yes.
That'd be my question.
So I'm not changing my vote, I'm still a yes, but I do want to say one thing, that I supported the project at 90 units with less parking and a lot more hustle and bustle in the church, the commercial. And I can honestly say, that was wrong. Where Yvonne got it to, which was more parking, decreased density, less hustle and bustle in the church, is a better project. So I'm happy to vote yes again, and I'm happy that, a member of this council took the time to sit down, and I'm happy that you took the time to sit down and make what are changes to the church, and in my opinion, made it a better project. Oh, yes.
Mayor. No. Resolution 2025-210, resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Asbury Park, the first proposed amendment to the Main Street redevelopment plan, the city of Asbury Park planning board, the director of the planning board, state certain action for the act of 12A. 2025-210.
Yes.
Yes. Resolution of support for the establishment of designated association with parking on state route 70 by the New Jersey Department of Transportation.
Second.
Councilor President, please. Councilor Captain. Councilor Clayton. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Mayor. Yes. Resolution 2025-212, resolution authorizing hiring of police officers to the alternate group option salary under the civil service act in the USA, or A:1-1.
Second.
Resolutions, second reading and public hearing, and ordinance 2025-9, ordinance of the city of Park, making consolidation act 5, and that each ordinance of the truck regulations, permitted motorized vehicles. Resolution to open the meeting of ordinance 2025. All in favor? Public comment on ordinance 2025-9. Speak, making right, state your name and address the right. Comments to only give out ordinance 2025.
Kevin, what are you going to make the change about? We spoke about it and the changes aren't usually those city vehicles are, yeah, but we should go with that. Yeah, let me recommend you table this for the next.
Second. Yes.
Yes, probably there's a little bit of language in there where we were trying to eliminate electric bicycles and everything like that. It said all motorized vehicles that could not work with that, so they challenge. So,
I had a quick question back to Claudia.
okay.
Ordinance 2025-9 has been tabled to the next council meeting. If that is all I have for tonight, do I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Do I want to give?